This 3-star sword might be better than this one for Eula, and this 4-star sword is the savior for us low spenders because it smashes all of these 5 stars. And this weapon right here is absolutely the best in slot. If you are new here, hello, I am Hushings. I suck at the game, so I compensate with knowledge. Subscribe for knowledge! I've also made a tool for you that compares every single sword at every single refinement, and we'll get to that in a bit. Make sure you're sat back, relax, and if you're excited for Eula, you can even like this video. First off, the debate club. The substat sucks and passive does no damage. The worst of them all, there's no debate. The Skyrider sword is the odd one here. It's a little 3-star among these 4-star big boys. It has a smaller base attack than the starsilver, but a bigger physical damage bonus. Plus it gives you more attack as you hit things anyways, up to 40% at refinement 5. And it's cheaper to upgrade, and you can find them in chests. This might be your best option if you just got this game. Unless you're lucky enough to have a few prototypes and you can invest in a few refinements on your starsilver, the Skyrider greatsword is just as good. Now most people I know aren't whales or aren't lucky enough to get one of these 5-star swords. Most of you are low spenders or free to play, just like me. So what options do we have? I bet the Snow-Tombed Starsilver is the first one that came to your mind. After all, it has physical damage bonus, and the passive does a big chunk of damage. And even an icy color scheme. It's a match made in heaven, right? Well, maybe. There are actually 4 swords that are better than the Starsilver, but before we get to them, let's give these ones a roast real quick. The energy recharge and energy on the Favonius Greatsword might be good for ults, but it does nothing else. It's the weakest 4-star. The substat on the bell is bad for Eula. The passive cooldown is 45 seconds. Who at MiHoYo thought this was a good idea? With the Sacrificial Greatsword, you actually lose damage if you press E more times in your combo. Put the ranged slasher on Beidou instead. Noelle's gonna cry if you take her sword. The prototype Archaic is slightly worse than the Starsilver. Don't waste your prototype for this. And now, here we have 3 swords that are better than the Snow-Tombed Starsilver. The Lithic Blade, the Blackcliff Slasher, and the Serpent Spine. The Lithic Blade is surprisingly amazing even if we can't actually get all 4 stacks, because Eula is from Mondstadt. But at 3 stacks, it is slightly worse than the Serpent Spine, and at 2 stacks, it is slightly better than the Starsilver. If you don't know what these stacks do, they give you a bit of attack and crit rate for every team member from Liyue. Next up is the Blackcliff Slasher. This has the potential to match the Serpent Spine, but only after you kill 3 things really fast first. So the passive is completely useless when you're fighting big scary things. But hey, the crit damage substat is really nice. And now, the Serpent Spine. Other than the massive chunk of crit rate it gives, its passive stacks up to 30% extra damage at Refinement 1. In most situations, you can pre-stack this bonus and go into a fight with the full damage bonus. And at this point, the Spine is already way ahead of Starsilver in DPS and is better than the Skyward Pride. At R3, it matches Wolf's Gravestone, and at R5, it could potentially match Eula's theoretic best in slot, the Song of Broken Pines. The small downside of having all this power is you take more damage, and you lose part of the damage bonus every time you get hit. But it's okay. Bring your shield and enjoy your damage. Honestly, MiHoYo, what is this? You created a 4-star weapon that beats your 5-star weapons. By the way, which sword are you going to use on Eula? Comment your sword of choice below, and I'll wish you good luck. And now onto our first 5-star sword, the Skyward Pride. This sword has a higher base attack than the next 2, and an energy recharge substat. This could be really valuable in keeping Eula's ult charged, which contributes to a big chunk of her damage. Its passive boosts all of her damage even more, and the 8 vacuum blades deal physical damage, which Eula specializes in. Next up is the Unforged. This sword gives a ton of attack as you hit enemies, and even more attack when you're shielded. But it doesn't do much else. Like, you had so much potential. Why don't you have actual useful stats? The Wolf's Gravestone stats are identical to the Unforged, and suffers the same problem of only providing attack. Though the upside is, it gives part of the attack up front, And if you hit any enemies with low HP, your whole team gets a huge attack buff. The best in slot weapon for Eula will be the Song of Broken Pines. This sword is going to be released in patch 1.5. At level 90, this sword has 741 attack and 21% physical damage substat, making this sword the highest base attack weapon in Genshin right now. But there's more. The passive gives you a good amount of attack. On top of that, after hitting enemies with your normal or charge attacks 4 times, which Eula can do under 2 seconds, the whole team and herself gains an even bigger attack percentage and attack speed boost. While I don't exactly know how attack speed would affect her combo and damage, my theory is that she would be able to at least gain 1 or 2 more stacks for her ult, and that would be a massive damage boost. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I encourage you to watch my last video. But even if attack speed does nothing for Eula, this sword will still be the best in slot for her just from the stats it provides, assuming it stays the same. Now, if you would like to compare different swords at different refinements, I've made a spreadsheet to compare the DPS capabilities of every sword you might want to use at every single refinement. It's posted on my Discord server. Have I changed your mind on Eula's best weapon? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe for more Eula guides, and I'll see you next time.